listeners. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Singularity Speaks. Rick here again, along with my co-host Lee. Lee, how you doing?
Hey, doing well.
So as always, make sure to subscribe if you enjoy these discussions. You can check out our website, singularityspeaks.com, where you can sign up for our mailing list. Now, we're still working on some fun things with that, so stay tuned if you've already signed up. For those wondering where Paul has been, don't worry. He's been working on our website. He'll be back soon. In a previous episode, we talked about Microsoft and the dire state of the Xbox brand. We pointed out that despite them spending billions of dollars buying up massive gaming studios, those investments never panned out the way leadership had hoped. Now, those same studios are facing a massive reckoning as Microsoft looks to cut its losses and aggressively pivot. This past week, we saw that exact scenario play out in what she called the most significant restructure in Xbox history. Newly appointed Xbox CEO Asha Sharma announced an immediate, sweeping reset for the brand. The fallout is staggering. 3,200 layoffs planned over the next year, with 1,600 workers let go effective immediately. Previously acquired fan favorites Double Fine and Compulsion Games are once again going independent, reclaiming their IP and catalogs. Meanwhile, Ninja Theory and Undead Labs are being spun off to new ownership entirely. Even the crown jewels of their recent acquisitions, studios Bethesda, Activision Blizzard, including subsidiaries Obsidian Entertainment and id Software, are seeing deep headcount cuts and streamlined operations as Xbox scrambles to fix profit margins that Sharma admitted are 3 to 10 times lower than their competitors. The last few years have been brutal for the entire gaming industry, with layoffs gutting studios that, at least on the surface, seem to be thriving. But this massive Xbox reset forces us to look at the bigger picture. Does this fall squarely on bad management, making bad bets, or does this point to a systemic structural crisis? Has the insatiable demand for massive, hyper-immersive games outgrown the industry's ability to build them in a reasonable time frame and at a sustainable cost? Are we living in an era where a single misstep can get an entire legendary studio wiped off the map? Grab a drink, sit back, and let's break down the volatile state of the gaming industry. To help us talk about that today, we brought in a guest. So please introduce yourself.
Yeah, name's Brady. I've been gaming since I could hold a controller and have some thoughts on what's happening, and a lot of it sucks.
well, welcome, Brady. Your opinion is totally welcome in this discussion because I know you've got a lot of strong opinions here. So let's talk about the Xbox stuff. 3,200 layoffs over the next year, 1,600 this week. That is nuts. Like, what's left of Xbox?
Not much.
Right. You want to know something, and this is just my thinking, is that the reason that they didn't do the whole 3,200 layoffs right now is because, man, I think Call of Duty teams are going to see some serious loss over there. They're going to be a big chunk of that 1,600 throughout the next year. I just had to look up the amount of employees that are part of Call of Duty. Infinity Ward is around 500 to 700 employees. Treyarch is the same thing, between 500, 800 employees. Sledgehammer Game is around 450 employees. And then you look at the support studios, High Moon is over 200 and Raven is over 300. And I think that's where the second round of layoffs is going to happen. But Call of Duty seems to be such a huge moneymaker for them. But who knows with Microsoft, right? Like, who knows what their thinking is and them looking at the numbers and what is doing well for them at this point. I don't know.
And they took it off of Games Pass, right? It's not going to be on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not on Game Pass anymore, at least not day one.
Yeah.
I think the big issue, though, at least with the new Call of Duty releases, is Warzone remains free regardless, right? You don't need to own the new game to continue playing Warzone.
Yes.
And that's where most of the players are nowadays.
Mm.
Warzone is very popular and is time and time again the most played mode. And so when you have new games coming out, but the old version that people are playing still remains the same, why buy the new version? You don't need to. So I think that's a lot of people's kind of view on it is like, if I don't need to buy Black Ops 7, if I don't need to play Modern Warfare 4 to keep playing the game I already know I enjoy, why would I?
So where do they make money on Warzone? Like
bundles. It's skins and weapon bundles, because you can hear as many people as you want talk crap about them, but they sell like hotcakes. People love their neon pink anime catgirl skins.
I mean, that's essentially the gaming industry as a whole right now is, they're just trying to sell you bullshit.
Yeah. And I wonder how much money Microsoft made off of that. Obviously, they thought they were going to pull in more people to Game Pass by having Call of Duty on there. They thought swarms of people were going to be like, man, that's such a bargain. We're just going to sign up for Game Pass. And it didn't happen, right? It did not happen. It didn't turn out to be the Netflix of gaming that Phil Spencer thought it was going to be.
Well, but it kind of was the Netflix of gaming, because even their big name stuff, you look at it, it's kind of cool, but then you play it and it's not very cool. So it kind of is like, if you look at it, Netflix is the same way. Their new shows suck.
Especially when they raise prices. It was like, man, it's not worth the deal that I think it is. Not anymore.
I mean, Game Pass is hundreds of games, but when 80% of them are indie games that I probably would have never played, even if they were free, I just don't. You can pad out the roster as much as you want, but if there's not enough actual meat there.
They did add, what is that? EA's version of Game Pass, Electronic Arts subscription. EA Play. So they added that as part of Game Pass. So not only do you have all of the, whatever Microsoft's got in there, but now you also have access to EA Play. Now, I don't know how much that cost them. I have no idea, because they don't release anything, right? So nobody has any idea. Leo and I were talking about, how do studios get paid? Do they get paid by interaction with the game? Like how many downloads or how many hours people are spent playing the game?
That's what I heard, is that they get paid based on hours played and interaction with the game.
Yeah, that's not fair to some games that do really well, and they're only 8-hour games.
It's a dumb idea in the first place. It's essentially when games started going haywire is when they started making gaming a subscription service.
The only numbers that we got out of Microsoft really was that Asha Sharma said that Xbox was losing 64 cents for every dollar invested.
Yeah.
Now, she did say across certain initiatives, whatever that's supposed to mean. I mean, that's a lot. I mean, you don't want to be losing money, right? The idea is to be profitable so that you can grow. And
I mean, she seems like she cares, but she's just looking at spreadsheets and she's just seeing these ridiculous numbers and what this shit has produced. And she's just,
right.
It sucks, but it has to be done.
Do you think that Microsoft should have made all of those studio purchases? Because I think Phil Spencer's thinking was that Game Pass was going to be the way forward. That if they could get enough subscribers on Game Pass, they couldn't be stopped. They would be the industry leader because of all of the content and great games that they had on there.
Everything could have been an Xbox.
Everything could have been an Xbox. I didn't know where it was going to go when all those purchases started happening, but I did think it was dangerous to have a consolidation, and I've always thought that, a consolidation under one umbrella, because the expectations become a lot higher under that umbrella. And you can look back to Electronic Arts and all of the purchases that they made over the years and all the studios that they killed off.
Yeah.
Right? And I think the next one on the chopping block, and I don't know what you guys think about it, but I think BioWare is if the next Mass Effect isn't a huge success for them, I think that might be it for BioWare.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm amazed they didn't shut down after Veilguard.
Veilguard was not very good. It was not a very good game. But I heard they had rebooted that game halfway through development. It was in development for almost a decade. They had kind of started development, and then this will make you happy, they pushed for more of a live service kind of a thing.
Yes.
Right. I know you love those live service games.
Not as much as these studios do, but yeah.
Right, because they're cash cows. They can be. All they want to do is...
They've so been proven as cash cows. That's why Bungie just lost half their workforce.
Right. Yeah.
Oh, man.
After the live service shift, then that did not go the way they wanted it either. So then they had to shift back to just a standalone story, standalone game. And at that point, it was, we've already spent too much money. You guys got to put a game out. I don't blame the studio so much for that, because they were told, oh, you got to shift, you got to do this. And now it's like their backs are against the wall.
Which was their mistake, because if Concord proved anything, it's that you can take 8 years and $500 million and produce gold. You know, you just give them time, let them cook, and they will produce gold.
Yeah. We watched them turn $500 million into maybe $1 million.
Yeah,
at most.
Exactly.
How many weeks did Concord last?
I think it was 2.
Yeah, about that.
So for people who don't know, Concord was a live service game published by Sony, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It was ex-Bungie devs, I believe.
Yeah. Most live service games are free to play, yeah?
Well, not nowadays.
Yeah, now you pay for the initial game and then you're still paying.
Oh boy, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think the thing with a lot of the new live service games, something like Concord or Highguard, is the promise behind those games is that, hey, you pay once up front, we're going to keep adding content. Mm-hmm. But what they don't tell you is, hey, yeah, this content's free. We never said it's going to be good. We never said it's going to be anything you actually want to play.
Right.
Yeah.
And I mean, I won't act like I'm immune to live service. I have talked ad nauseum before. I'm a Destiny 2 fan, so I can't really talk. I'm not allowed to talk shit. But you know what? At least the content in that game's good.
Yeah, I was huge into Destiny 1 when it came out. I mean, it was such a huge thing, and then it was a good, I mean, it was cool. It was interacting with your friends and jumping online, and you know, I never wanted to do the raids because they took like 6 hours, but I did one once or twice, and it was a lot of fun, and you get a lot of loot, and I don't know,
like yelling at each other.
Yeah, like games as a service can be fun. There are ways to do it. And I thought that Destiny was, I don't know what the fuck happened with it.
The reason that publishers want these live service games is because it's recurring income. Yeah. Because of the microtransactions, right? So we can give examples like Fortnite. So you can purchase skins like Brady was talking about in Call of Duty. And that's where most of their revenue, that's all their revenue really, right? Like, I don't think there's...
Yeah. They've got Unreal Engine and they've got Fortnite. And Fortnite, I am pretty sure, far exceeds whatever they get from Unreal Engine.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm sure.
Because you figure the big skins in Fortnite, your big crossovers and whatever stuff that people are buying, minimum for just a skin itself is $20.
Yeah.
But a majority of the people are buying the full pack that comes with the little accessories and everything. And those, I've seen some of those be upwards of like $30, $40 for the full set of everything you get.
Oh yeah. I mean, Doom Dark Ages skins for Diablo 4 are, I think it's like $50. Like, I never realized, I never played WoW. I just, dabble in Diablo.
Mm-hmm.
But man, that Blizzard charges so much for cosmetics.
Everything cosmetic wise.
Yeah.
Even Overwatch. And now they
Yeah.
brought loot boxes back to Overwatch 2, so gambling's back on the menu.
Yeah. Gambling is back in a big way with everything.
Yeah.
Those kind of games these days are what can sustain studios. And that's
But-
why these publishers want them so much, is because they can keep studios alive if they release a game that doesn't do well.
So my question is, when did AAA games, what changed in the gaming industry where AAA games stopped making enough money, where companies weren't satisfied? When were they making that GTA 5 money? Where
Okay.
they're satisfied with, actually Rockstar wasn't satisfied, because then they turned GTA Online into games as a service.
I can tell you my opinion on how that happened, when that happened. When games went from taking about a year and a half, 2 years to make, to now taking anywhere from 5 to 7 years. And when a game now can cost $200 million or more, like before the marketing budget, man, like it has to sell a lot in order to justify even thinking of revisiting that IP ever again. And that sucks. That sucks. Because a AAA game, a 2-year investment with a studio of, say, 75 to 100 people is a hell of a lot less than a studio that's 300 to 500 people that takes 5 to 7 years to make. And some of these AAA games, that's how long they take. Brady and I were talking about that the other day, how long games take to make nowadays.
Yeah.
Would you guys agree that a standard console cycle right now average around 7-8 years before the new console is released? But in reality, the actual console cycle itself could be like 8 or 9 years, because there's still those cross-platform games that get released after the new console comes out, because games are in development so long, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's the big issue with the PS5, I feel. I mean, you see the memes and the arguments online that there's no games for the PS5. I mean, there's PS4 games for the PS5, but
sure, yeah, I've seen it. And I think only because in the last year or two, you started to see like PS5 only games start to push what the PS5 can do.
I mean, they still are making games for the PS4. And there's still that issue of, because there hasn't been enough of a reason to buy a PS5. Because especially with stuff like Fortnite and Warzone, these free-to-play live service games that still support these last-gen consoles.
Yeah.
Like, if you're making minimum wage, why would you go out and buy a PS5 when you have the games you already want on your last gen?
Exactly.
Then someone like Sony runs into the problem of they are spending these millions of dollars on the PS5 exclusive games, as few and far between as those are.
Sure.
And then they're not selling as well because there's not enough people buying them.
If you look at it from the publisher's standpoint, okay, so they're looking at numbers. They're looking at total addressable market. So what is the total number of people that can purchase your game? If you're only going to have one, maybe if you're lucky, 2 releases out of a studio per console cycle, heck yeah, you're going to want it cross-gen, because you want that addressable market as big as possible. For console makers, it locks them into maybe not necessarily backwards compatibility, but ease of cross-development. Easy for studios to take their code base from the last console and make it work on the new console without having to spend a whole heck of a lot of time to get it up and running.
Yeah.
And that's all due to how long it takes to make a game and what the total costs end up being to make a game.
Yeah, I think that's something that, like a company like Insomniac, I think that's kind of been their issue, is they prioritize next gen over trying to have that like parity between cross gen, or like the new gen, the old gen. And I do believe that is what, because they what was it, just 2 years ago laid off a bunch of people. from Insomniac. And I think that's part of what hurt them is, I mean, at that point, there was, I don't even think 10 million units sold of the PS5. And you have games that came out pretty early in the life cycle of it. So where's all that money supposed to come from? Especially if it's a PlayStation exclusive game.
Sure.
It is something as well. I think that's part of what with the live service stuff, why that's also so lucrative is because a lot of these live service games never really push the envelope in what they're making.
Sure. Yeah.
You're never going to look at Fortnite or Apex Legends and be like, oh my God, this is the most beautiful game I've ever played. You're more so looking at the gameplay.
Yeah.
And if the gameplay is solid enough and they can get it to run well enough that it can run on a fucking iPhone, they're going to focus that route because that is absolutely where the money is, if done right.
Totally. Let's talk about Grand Theft Auto 6 that's coming out here in just a few months. It's going to be PlayStation and Xbox only for a while. So console only to begin with. When it finally does release on PC, there's going to be a lot of PCs that are not going to be able to run that game. Or at least not run it and have it perform very well.
That is a risky gamble to take, though, especially figuring in hardware prices as they are right now. And the potential for them to just get exponentially worse.
Yeah.
That's a risk they're willing to take, though, because they know that people are going to pay for it.
That's why they're charging $80. They know people are going to pay it.
Yeah.
Exactly. Especially for that game.
You know they're going to make a lot of money. Not every studio has the ability to have the sales that Grand Theft Auto does. I mean, if you look at Grand Theft Auto sales over the last 10, 12 years, however long it's been out, they're still in like top 10 of sales every freaking quarter. It's like, man, people just don't stop buying it.
It was a good game in 2010.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think that online has definitely been a huge factor in keeping it alive, especially now that they have that subscription service for the online.
So this is another thing that I want to point out, and I want your guys' opinion on. And Lee, especially because you'll remember back in the 90s, things were a lot different with review scores. Okay. And I think this has become a problem in the industry. If you think back, Lee, okay, in the 90s during when gaming magazines had blown up and reviews really became a thing, that's really, I think, where game reviews really started was in magazines. Because that's all we had, right?
Mm-hmm.
If a game got a 7 out of a 10, okay, it wasn't a great game, but could still be a good game, right?
That was an Assassin's Creed game.
And obviously, if a game got like a 2 or a 3, you should probably avoid that because it's not very good.
But if it was a Game Informer score and it was a 2 or 3 out of 5, then you're like, maybe this is kind of solid, you know?
Sure. Game Informer. I remember Game Informer.
Then you get like an NHL hits or like definitely not Blitz. That was a higher score.
Well, these days, a 7 out of 10 that's an abysmal game, and nobody wants to touch a 7 out of a 10 game. When did the actual like good to mediocre, the window become so freaking tiny? And why did it get so tiny? Like, what happened?
I remember years ago, you, Dave, and I were having this conversation, and because we were talking about number scores, and Dave was like, when did a 7 out of 10 become bad?
That's what I'm saying.
Like,
yeah, absolutely.
And I was like, I don't know, but it's true. Like, it's like that, you know, that people are accustomed to seeing number scores. And if it doesn't score a 9, 9.5 or a 10 out of 10, people are kind of turned off about it.
Yeah.
It's also the fact that like a lot of reviewers, I don't know if you've noticed, but they've taken out the number scores now. I mean, you can still find them on like a Metacritic or like, something like that. But
Sure.
I know IGN has taken away their number score.
What is it, like a strongly recommend or something like that?
It's not even that. It's just they give you the written review, and then it gives you the verdict at the end. And then the verdict is kind of like their condensed version, but they do not give it a number score anymore. And I think that a lot of that is because, I don't know, I think it kind of biases people a little bit.
I don't know if you guys agree necessarily, but I think the numbers started to get skewed when you gave too many people voices.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of conflicting opinions. I see a 7 out of 10 as, maybe it's not going to be great. It's not going to be my favorite game, but it's playable and it'll be at least somewhat fun.
Right.
But you guys absolutely hit it on the nail. Now you hear 7 out of 10, you're like, oh, this game must be the worst game of the year.
It's dumb. That's dumb.
I think part of it is
dumb.
Companies like IGN, where people are so scared of being too mean. So companies like IGN and Metacritic started reviewing games higher because they're like, oh, well, they're trying, blah, blah, blah. So there was a lot more 8 and 9s coming out. But these 8 and 9s are actually probably 6s and 7s. But now people are seeing 6s and 7s as 8 and 9s. And so when a 7 actually does come out, it's like, oh, well, this game must be terrible.
Yeah.
There was a controversy over, was it Tears of the Kingdom? There was one reviewer gave it and it was an 8.5 or 9, something like that. And oh my God, people freaked out over that. It's well, maybe this person didn't think it was the greatest game they ever played. They just thought it was a great game. Why is it 8.5 or 9?
Fine.
Right.
Yeah.
Why is that such a bad thing?
No, I've talked to people that absolutely love Zelda games, and they hated the Tears of the Kingdom and Breath of the Wild.
Yeah.
It's I don't know. They'll name another game where you can pay that amount and get that much gameplay out of
Yeah.
But then again, it's true. And he gave it an 8. I consider an 8 or an 8.5 a good score.
Exactly. I do as well. I still think a 7 or an 8 is still a good game. It may not be generational game, industry defining game, but not every game needs to be. It can still be fun. Yeah. And I think that's such a huge part of what is wrong with the industry right now.
Everything has to be the next best thing.
Yeah. Why? Why? And I think it shuts people out from games that would otherwise worth playing. They're worth your time, and they don't have to be this huge thing. They can still be a good game, especially the hours. And I see this a lot too, people complaining, oh, well, it's only going to be 8 or 10 hours. I'm not interested. So the expectations of, okay, I don't want to pay $50 to $70 for an 8 to 10 hour game. I understand people struggle with money, especially nowadays, right? I understand that. But there can be really great 8 or 10 hour games.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That are worth the money. Maybe not $70, maybe not, but $50, yeah, heck yeah.
Yeah.
And, I played a game called, well, Brady, you played one too. Dispatch. Dispatch was great. It was great. Mm-hmm. It was a great game. And it's what, maybe 8-9 hours? Maybe?
If even that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I do not regret playing it at all.
No. Fantastic game. There was another one that I played. I think I talked to you about it, Brady, called The Altars.
Yes. Yeah.
And The Altars was freaking great. I enjoyed that so much. 11-Bit Studios. Were they the ones that did...
They were This War of Mine.
This War of Mine and Frostpunk? Was another one they did?
I think so. Yeah.
And The Altars was freaking great. Now, it's about an 8 or 10 hour game. The story, it's very compelling It was so good. And it didn't have to be this huge 40-hour game. It didn't have to be that. It was still just really good. And I think it did well for them, which is great. When the same with Dispatch, I think it did well for Ad Hoc. I think it was a success for them. And I hear they're working on, I don't know if a sequel or more content, probably a sequel, I would assume. People's expectations, to me, it just seems out of whack. I know I'm older and I come from a different generation. How do you think your generation, Brady, the expectations of that, among you and your friends with smaller games?
My friends are a bad example because that's all they play. But I think someone like me, where like growing up actually playing them, and even the generation before me, we came in at a point where, I mean, you had the PS2 and the PS3, right?
Okay.
And you had games getting to the point where they were really big, and a lot of them, honestly, were pretty good.
Yeah.
And I think that set this expectation of, okay, well, this is what I grew up playing. This is what I should expect from now on. And I think that's kind of just been a festering just pile of like, it just keeps, they're just digging themselves in deeper and deeper to the point where, like you said, it's taking 5 to 7 years. It's taking hundreds of millions. And then these games aren't selling as well as they want. And one of the games I've talked about that I do not like is Assassin's Creed Valhalla.
Sure.
Right. I've talked about, I got 30 hours into that game and wasn't even halfway through it. And I gave up on it because It's like, there is a certain point where if you're going to have me play 40, 50 hours, you better make that 40, 50 hours entertaining. Yeah. Because I'd rather a 10 to 15 hour game. Example, God of War 2018 for the PS4.
Yeah.
People complained that game was too short.
What? I
say phooey. That game is amazing. It is a perfect length.
Dude, it was great.
Yeah, it was great.
Ragnarok suffers from them trying to overcorrect and pad out more of the game. And I still love God of War Ragnarok. But they tried to add more content and it didn't work. In terms of playing from beginning to end, I think I prefer 2018 because you have sections in Ragnarok where I'm stuck here for 2-3 hours playing some of the most dull stuff I've ever played.
Yeah.
And I love that game, but it makes it really hard to go back and play through again. And I think that's another issue. And I think that's something they are trying to correct is, yes, you can try to focus on having a game be a good one-time experience, or you can focus on replayability. And as much as I dislike something like the Souls genre, that has been their bread and butter. And that is why those games sell like crack.
Right.
Because they are some of those Souls games are some of the most replayable games you will ever encounter. I think that's a balance that these companies need to try to find is you can focus on a long game, but if you're going to do that, it's got to be good and you can't waste the player's time. Or you make a short game that is super replayable. And I think that's another, back to live service, I think that's another reason why those are so successful, is because they can create a small gameplay loop, but if it's fun enough, people are just going to keep playing it and keep playing it and keep playing it. Look at Fortnite. Fortnite has been out for 8 years now. That has been so successful for them because they refined that gameplay loop early on and gave people a reason to keep playing.
Let's talk about Bungie and that whole thing. Okay, let's talk about that. Leading up, I want to bring up cumulative layoff numbers for the past 3 years. And I don't know if you guys know these numbers, but these numbers blew me away because I didn't know. So in 2023, industry-wide, 10,500 jobs lost in 2023 alone. You think that's bad? 2024 was even worse. 15,600 layoffs. So you had over 500 at Riot Games. What is that? League of Legends, right? Unity, the game engine Unity had 1,800, EA 670, and the Embracer Group. This is part of my issue with these big, huge corporations buying up a whole bunch of studios. So Embracer Group was over 8,000 from August of 23 to March of 24, 8,000 layoffs. Insane, right? So 2025, there was a little bit of a slowdown for layoffs, 9,200. Still a lot, though. But there were also a lot of unannounced project cancellations in 2025. In 2026, and we're only halfway through, we're already past 10,000 layoffs. And that includes the 1,600 from Microsoft just this week. Let's get to Bungie. Bungie, they were the studio that originally created Halo way back in the day. Bungie, they were independent. They got bought up by Microsoft to bring Halo to the original Xbox console. Then they wanted to go independent. So they got their independence and they started working on their own project, which was ended up being Destiny. Is that right, Brady? Destiny was their first solo project?
So Destiny's a rough one because it wasn't really solo. That was under a contract with Activision.
Okay, under a contract with Activision. And then Activision actually bought them up.
Yes.
Then they became part of Activision. And then I think Activision and them, the whole situation soured. Activision had enough and let Bungie become independent again. And then in 2022, Sony decided to buy Bungie and they paid $3.6 billion for Bungie. And when it happened, Brady and I were trying to figure out why. Was there $3.6 billion of value in Bungie at that time? I think Sony thought that Bungie was going to be this live service money printing machine that was just going to make them all kinds of money. I don't know. Were you playing Destiny 2 at that time, Lee? Or have you really played any of Destiny 2 at all?
I wasn't playing Destiny 2. I think everybody and their mother was playing Destiny 1 because they would you get it for free no matter what you did. Like,
sure.
As soon as you said the word Destiny, one would arrive at your doorstep. So I don't know if they made any money off of that game. Maybe off the DLC.
Destiny 2, I think it was around when they split with Activision that Destiny 2 went free to play, which I still, to this day, think was a mistake. And then you would just pay for the DLCs. I think Sony's evaluation of Bungie, it has come out, I don't know how verifiably true it is, but the reports are that management at Bungie lied to Sony's faces. They had multiple incubation projects going that were not actually meant to go anywhere, but were made to kind of bump up the face value of Bungie.
See, that's like lawsuit stuff right there, though.
Yeah, but that was what, like, a lot of the stuff that came out, like, oh, Bungie canceled, like this. They were never meant to become full games. They were only ever there to make them look more lucrative, so that Sony would buy them out.
Yeah, that's a lot of money for a company that was
bleeding.
It was struggling. Like, if Activision didn't want them, I still don't understand the value that Sony thought they were going to get. Last month, Bungie announced that they had to lay off half of their studio, and Bungie's huge. Bungie has over 1,000 people. I want to say it was close to 1,500 people that were working at the studio, and they just had to lay off almost 750 people. And Destiny 2 is getting shut down. Yeah, I don't know how much longer it's got, but
well, at least as of right now, it is in the same state that Destiny 1 is, where it is going to remain playable for the foreseeable future.
Okay.
Servers are going to remain online.
All right.
But there's no new content coming. And just this last week, they released the final major patch. There will still be emergency maintenance should something break or make the game unplayable. But as it is right now, Destiny 2 is done. They don't have anyone working on it.
And from my understanding, they don't even know what they're doing next. Like they just released another live service game, Marathon.
That is something I did want to talk about is Marathon, right? It's
Marathon.
good. It's great. I mean, Bungie knows how to sprinkle in crack cocaine into their gunplay. You pick up any Bungie game ever, and the base gameplay loop is going to be one of the best things you've ever touched, right? Their first-person shooter knowledge is amazing. The issue is it's an extraction shooter. And I think this is something that has been on the downturn for live service games. And I think it's something Sony kind of bungled, is putting your bets on an extraction shooter. You have this blatant issue with extraction shooters where it requires time. They are not games that you can just pick up, play for an hour, and be happy that you got stuff done.
Okay.
A single game of Marathon can take upwards of 30 minutes. And any monumental progress done in the game requires more time than that. And so I think an issue with Marathon and why Sony should never have put their bets into Marathon is it does not appeal to the casual market. And that's something that live service games have to do. Even something as simple as Warzone. I mean, yeah, you've got these Twitch streamers who you can smell through the screen because they play nothing but Warzone.
Yeah.
But even a normal average person can come home from work, play a game or two of Warzone, and still have some fun and not really have to worry about like, oh, can I play for 2 or 3 hours a day? Whereas something like the new Marathon game, it's not that same sort of thing. The average Joe who comes home from his 9 to 5 and has 2 or 3 kids at home can't just hop on to Marathon, play a few games, and feel like he did anything.
I've read some things rather from people that were at Bungie that said Marathon wasn't supposed to be the next big thing for Bungie. It was just something that they were working on. They hope would be relatively successful, but not to replace Destiny 2. It was never meant to be that.
Yeah. And I think I was thinking about this the other day to myself, was at a certain point you can blame Bungie, right? Because yes, at the core, it is Bungie's fault. It is Bungie's management that has been piss poor. But if you buy a company for $3 billion, what are you doing? And why is there not more oversight over this company who has a track record of having bad management? Even before Sony bought them, Activision said, these guys suck to manage. When they were solo, they sucked to manage.
Right.
You cannot buy a company for $3 billion and expect to let them do their own thing. And I think that was part of Sony's issue, was that that was part of their initial statement when they bought Bungie years back, was like, hey, they're going to technically remain independent. We're just going to help fund them. And that was the issue, was that they should have 100% been riding Bungie's ass on everything, because Bungie is not a company that you can leave to let them do their own thing. They will cannibalize themselves within a year. And that is what is happening.
You just got me thinking, do you guys think there's a live service saturation where
yes,
we've hit the saturation point for live service games? Because you brought up only having time if you've got a wife and kids, and by the time you get home from work, you really don't have a whole lot of time to invest in games. And some of these live service, like forever games, you gotta put a lot of time into those to get anywhere, to feel like you're getting anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
There's so much competition for that because every publisher wants that hit. They want that success because they want that cash cow. I think the more companies try to get into that, the uglier it's going to get, because it's just too fierce. There's too many.
I mean, yeah, I think you hit the nail right on the head. There's definitely a saturation problem.
Yeah, I think so many of these games, like one big example, again, to go back to Fortnite, and Fortnite wasn't even the first to do it, but the Battle Royales. they gotta stop. There are so many that suck. They're all the same thing. And even Fortnite, it wasn't the first. I mean, PUBG was, I believe, PUBG and H1Z1 were the first ones that really hit it big.
Yep.
And then Fortnite came around about a few months later and was like, hey, our zombie game sucks. Let's do a battle royale. And it took off. And Fortnite took off because it had unique mechanics. And I think that's something that people miss. Warzone, to me, was only popular or only became popular because once Fortnite came out, you had everybody trying to be quirky and do weird stuff. And so Warzone kind of cornered that market of just being a standard battle royale.
Sure.
But now we've come back to the flip side of everyone trying to copy Warzone, and they're all just boring, and there's no unique identity. And I think that's something games really, really need. But I think that's another struggle is you can't come up with that golden goose for every single game that comes out.
Yeah.
And it sucks to say, but there are going to be games that are going to fall through and get shut down. A lot of it is just throwing stuff at the wall and hoping it sticks for whatever reason.
Well, it's like Lee brought up Concord. What was that, 8 years and how many hundreds of millions of dollars to last for 2 or 3 weeks? That's awful. That's awful. That's awful for the studio that put that much time into it that it didn't do anything, and awful for everybody involved in that kind of a situation.
I think Concord was doomed to fail from the moment it started development because that genre of hero shooter, right? Hero shooters, there have been 2 successful hero shooters, Overwatch and Marvel Rivals.
Yeah.
You show me any other hero shooter that's lasted. Where's Battleborn? Where's Concord? Where's Rogue Company or whatever that other third-person hero shooter was?
What was the one that just came out?
Highguard?
Yeah. That one. That's another one that lasted like a month.
Yeah. It's hero shooters are a bad genre to go into, especially nowadays with Overwatch and Marvel Rivals both being free to play. You make a hero shooter exclusive to PlayStation that is the most generic concept. I don't care if you spent 8 years. It should have never come out. That game was doomed to fail.
Lee, you and I talked about this in another episode on our Hollywood Greenlight episode about AI in the use of, like in Hollywood, they found a use for when you submit scripts, they can put it through an AI filter that can determine whether your script is even worth, taking a look at by a real person. But in the gaming industry, they want to try to start using it in production pipelines throughout the process. And there's a lot of pushback from people, and I understand that. But Asha Sharma made comments about using AI in their production pipelines, rapid prototyping, neural rendering to make it easier for developers and cut down on development times, which can help get games out faster, cut the costs down. What do you think of that, Lee, in the gaming industry? Because I already know how you feel about it in the Hollywood industry. How do you feel about the use of AI in gaming?
If it's meant to be used as a tool to improve development, but it doesn't cost somebody their job, unless they get paid a bloated salary and, they're like, I don't know, I'm pretty sure the whole team that they laid off at Insomniac was probably just the team that redesigned Peter Parker's face for the PS5 version.
Yeah, those rat bastards.
But I don't know. I feel like it's one of those things where in the film industry, a lot of it can be done manually and it's still considered somewhat of an art form. But a lot of this stuff in the gaming industry, especially nowadays, seems more and more mechanical and robotic by the day, especially with the decisions being made, that AI just seems like a natural progression that's
inevitable.
Exactly. It's inevitable.
I asked you first only because we're from an older generation, and I think our perception of AI, it's different than the younger generations. In my industry where I work, I have seen technology take jobs away. And that's hard. And that's a hard shift to make as a business owner. And it sucks to have to let people go.
I mean, just as long as you let them know that they're replaceable and their job is done faster by a machine, and they're, they're
that makes it so much better.
They're just inadequate. So
right, like inevitably, and I think my point with that is inevitably something is going to come along that's going to do your job better than you, more efficiently, and cost a lot less. That's, new technology enables that to happen, and it sucks.
So fucking move aside.
Right. And I'm not saying we have to just let it. I'm not saying we have to roll over and just let that happen. But I think that's the pushback on AI. I think it's fair and I think it's fine, but I think it's an inevitability. And it's how we allow it to be used moving forward. And I think that is the important discussions that we need to be having, is where and when it can be used and how it can be used.
Don't blame me when you see fucking Kratos with 7 fucking fingers swinging his, his axe around. All right.
Oh, I get it. I understand. Brady, what do you think of AI usage in games and going forward?
So, I mean, like, I've voiced opinions plenty of times.
I know. You are not an AI fan. I understand.
So I'm not a fan of it as a replacement. I believe as a supplement, yeah, use it as a tool. That's what it was designed for, right? To say like, oh, you should never use AI. Oh, blah, blah. No, it's stupid, right? We've spent billions of dollars. We've ruined markets.
Yeah,
just use it for something. At least make it worth it in the end.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the issue is that companies aren't using it to supplement. They're using it as a, hey, we can use this and fire about half of our coding staff because the AI can do it faster. Oh, we don't care about the quality of the code. Who gives a shit about quality? Nah, we just want to spend less money.
Right.
And I think a company like Larian, I think their idea is great, right? Mm-hmm. Using it as to make very borderline rough drafts of their concept art, so that their concept artists don't have to sit there and tap their thumbs against their chin and think, oh, how do I want to put this on the page? How do I want this to look? They can put in a prompt, generate a very rudimentary image, and then use that as inspiration. And like they've said, there will never be an AI product released in their game, right? Any asset that is created through AI will be replaced. And I think hating on people for doing that is stupid, because have you ever seen how game development works in the first place? If you've never touched Unreal Engine or Unity, you don't know that half of what makes the game is placeholder objects that get replaced in the end.
Yeah, hopefully. Hopefully they do.
Yes. But any AAA game, the placeholders are not supposed to be there. But to say not to use a placeholder, okay, we won't make games anymore then. Throw the industry away. We're not allowed to use placeholders. It's stupid. And
I think if we want the gaming industry to move forward, we have to find a way, or studios have to find a way, and we as consumers have to find a way to determine what we're going to accept and what we're not going to accept. But studios have to find a way to lower development times, to cut down on development times. And like you were talking about Larian suggested, okay, but if we have our own AI that we can run locally, that we train on only our artists' work, right? It makes it so much easier to come up with iterations on different styles of whatever they're trying to do. I always say, like, the amount of detail in some of these new games is insane, from tables and cups and chairs and There's so much design that goes into all of that. And to have to go through so many iterations until they find something that works, man, if they can train it on their own employees' work and say, okay, what if we made this change? They can see in a matter of minutes what that's going to look like. So then their artists can go and take that and then build off of that. Man, it could cut down on so much time, and games could come out faster, cheaper.
Yeah, and it's the same thing with like the technical aspects of it all, like writing the code and messing around with the engine is like the way it should be is, use it to make that first step, right? Yeah. Lay your groundwork with the AI, but then have your people go through, have them trim it, have them clean it up. Because AI, I've seen the code AI writes, and there is a lot of like redundancies and just bloat in everything it writes, because it tries to verify that whatever it's doing is going to work, right? Even if half of it isn't necessary. But lay that groundwork and then have your people that you're paying, keep paying them. Don't fire them. Don't get rid of them.
Yeah.
Have them go in and trim this stuff. Have them clean it up. Have them work off of that groundwork so that stuff can get done quicker, like you said, and it can cut down on times drastically.
So I think this leads into the final thing that I want to get to is, and you just touched on it, Brady, about the cost of hardware, and AI is the reason why. And I don't know how much of this you know, Lee, but now is not the time to be buying a computer because the cost for memory and storage is through the freaking roof. Yeah. Like all these data centers are eating it all up. We got new consoles coming out next year, PlayStation 6 and Xbox Helix coming out next year, and they are going to cost a lot of freaking money. So Sony just announced that early 2028, they will not be selling physical games anymore, digital only. And not having to have a disk drive is one way you can cut down on the cost of that console.
Yeah,
I think they're doing whatever they can to try to keep that price under $1,000. It's going to be close. It's going to be close to $1,000. I just don't know how they're going to be able to do it for much less than that. How do you guys feel about the end of physical games? Because for PC, it's been that way for a long time. Mm-hmm. It's been digital only for a long time, but consoles, still physical games. Nintendo, you can still purchase physical copies, but a lot of them are only a license to download the digital copy, correct?
Yeah.
Yes.
One of the things with the whole digital physical thing is, like, for me, I buy a majority of my games on sale and I buy them digitally because I can't buy full price games anymore. I can't pre-order games anymore. They're just too expensive now.
I get it. Yeah, I totally understand.
And so one of the things that like you have to come to terms with is so if I still owned a PlayStation 3, I know that they ended the store service with the PlayStation 3 a while back and stuff. And so a lot of those games that I purchased on there and a lot of those themes and stuff like that are like gone. And the licenses on them, if I got a PlayStation 3, I could, restore the licenses and re-download them, whatever. But the thing with PC that's different is you're when you have a PlayStation, you're kind of victim to the PlayStation Store and PlayStation licensing and everything. But like with PC, whenever you download a game, like you definitely have a lot more ownership of it than you do a digital game through the.
Well, unless Steam decides to shut down, like so, Steam is like we talked about last episode. Steam is the number one retailer of games on the PC. Gabe Newell, who is the guy in charge of Steam and Valve, who runs Steam, he's not going to do it forever, right? He's going to retire at some point. Is the person who takes it over, is he going to have the same outlook on that store and the same respect for gamers that I think Gabe Newell has had? I don't know. And what happens if the Steam store shuts down? Do we lose all of our games? We take for granted on PC that we have all the things, the nice things that we do, but what if it gets taken away? What if it was the same thing where they just started taking games off of there because they're like, yeah, there's we just don't want to store these anymore and worry about these old games. What do we do then? Right?
Whenever you click on a agree to terms of service, I mean, you kind of like are victim to.
What's your feeling on the physical games, Brady?
Besides the Switch, right? The Switch is the only one that has had an actual reason to have physical games, with the games actually being on the cartridge. Granted, that has shifted a small amount with the Switch 2. You do have stuff like the game key cards now. But since the PS4 and the Xbox One came out, physical games have only ever been a key that allows you to download the game.
Mm-hmm.
The games have not been stored on the discs. Nothing has stopped Sony, Microsoft, whoever is in charge of these games, nothing has stopped them from still shutting down the game and still preventing you from playing it, even if you own it physically. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, while it sucks because like I like having the physical stuff, I'm a collector at heart. I'd rather pay less for games or keep games at a steady price than still require physical games and have games go up to 80, 90, $100, whatever has to be supported in order for physical games to remain a thing.
Yeah.
And as well with stuff like the PS6 and the new Xbox, if these consoles are, as they're rumored to be, going to be over $1,000, damn, I'd love to keep the price as low as possible on those. Get rid of the disk drive. It is if that disk drive is the difference between that console being $1,000 versus $1,500. Mm-hmm. Fill a landfill with them. I do not care. Yeah. I do not want to pay that much for a console.
Yeah, the amount of money that I save on digital alone is just, you can play so many more games. It's just, I don't know. And the other thing too is that's such a key point too, is the disc is literally just a key because you don't own anything anymore. No,
as soon as you put it in, it tells you, hey, you got to download, the game, you got to download an update or whatever it is, right? There's really nothing there. You're going to be able to play anyway.
And I'll tell you, the last physical game that I bought was Street Fighter 6. And the disc, I don't know how it happened. Those discs are supposed to be really hard to scratch. It got scratched and it would not load. So I couldn't download all the bullshit in order to play the game once I deleted it. So I literally, and I'm a huge fan of the game, so then I had to repurchase it when it was on sale digitally in order to play it. So I have this coaster of a Street Fighter 6 game that will not even load because it can't agree to the terms of service because it was deleted once. And then, because that's the beautiful thing about the PlayStation 5 is you can store like 4 games on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're able to get 4 games. Damn, did you expand your storage?
Yeah, exactly. I have to delete Final Fantasy VII Rebirth like every time, and then I can download a couple games.
I think you hit it right on the head when you said, Lee, that we don't own anything, and I think that's where the pushback is coming from, is the realization that we don't own anything, and all this digital stuff can be taken away from you whenever they feel like taking it away from you. And the thought of that sucks. But it doesn't change the fact that owning the physical copy, you didn't own it anyway, other than you could trade it in. There was some benefits to that, I suppose. When you were done with it, trade it in and you get a little bit of money to help you get into something else in the whole used market.
Even still with that though, like you figure you buy a game for $60-$70, you trade it into GameStop, they're going to give you 5 cents for it. Like, not actually, but they're going to give you $20-$30 depending on when you turn the game back in.
Yeah, if that, because they got to make money off of it too,
and then when
right?
the physical media panic starts, they're going to resell it for $50.
But what I was trying to get at is eventually you're still just going to save more money if you just wait for a sale on a digital copy.
Yeah.
I mean, especially with PC, right? Mm-hmm. I don't know the last time I bought a game directly through Steam.
Yeah.
Because there are so many markets, and they're even starting to expand into stuff like PlayStation and Xbox. Mm-hmm. There are so many marketplaces that you can buy games for dirt cheap.
Yeah. Lots of sales on PC. It is a very different ecosystem than what Sony's, and especially Nintendo. Nintendo doesn't care.
No,
Oh, dude, Nintendo.
they know you're gonna buy it.
They make damn good games though. Damn it! Like, can you really hate them?
No, you know what? I don't have much to say about Nintendo other than they are successful at what they do, and
They don't lay people off. They pay their people well. Damn it! Let them charge $70 for the entire
They
lifespan of the
They
game.
can change their terms of service all they want, just as long as they keep that nostalgia farming.
Yeah,
exactly.
if I get to catch a damn Pokemon, I don't care.
Exactly.
You know, I saw something online about where are the big three going to be in 10 years? PlayStation, Xbox, and Nintendo. And everybody agreed Nintendo is going to be just fine.
Yep.
Yeah. The Switch 4 is going to be out, and it's going to perform about the same as a PS5.
Right. It's not, it's not going to be cutting edge at all. Right. It'll be a little bit behind the times, but it doesn't matter because that's the only place you can get Nintendo games is on Nintendo.
If I got to shill out $1,000 to play Zelda, damn it, I'm shilling out $1,000 to play Zelda.
Exactly. If Tom Nook needs to raise my rent 5 times in Animal Crossing on the Switch 4, that's fine.
Yeah.
Everybody has that opinion on Nintendo. Well, is there anything else you guys want to talk about before we finish this one up? Anything else we didn't touch on that you guys want to make comments on or anything?
I think we
no.
covered,
I think I got out everything I wanted to say.
Yeah, nice. Brady, I appreciate you coming on and helping us fill this one out. I know you had a lot that you wanted to get out, and I hope that you did. You said you did, so that's good. I know we had just talked about Microsoft and all that, but with the actual layoffs coming through, I think it was important that we kind of finish out that whole story and discuss the gaming industry as a whole. I think the gaming industry in its current state is just not sustainable. You can't expect creatives to actually be creative when the weight of an entire studio and hundreds, if not thousands of jobs rests entirely on their shoulders. And if the only lesson corporate leadership learns from making a high-stakes mistake is to retreat into their shells and stick to only proven IPs, then how long do they expect consumers to stay excited? And, you know, I love legacy franchises like Assassin's Creed or Tomb Raider. There's some good games in those franchises. But I also love games like Dispatch and The Alters. Games from studios that weren't afraid to take a swing, something that was totally different. The path forward for the industry may not be completely clear just yet. Maybe we didn't solve that today. But as consumers, I think we have to accept a new reality that a focused, well-paced 6 to 8 hour game can be just as memorable, just as engaging, and a heck of a lot less risky than a bloated 50-hour open world epic. So in the meantime, our hearts go out to everyone affected by the latest wave of layoffs. I hope that everyone caught in the crossfire can find some stability as the dust settles and the industry begins the long process of rebuilding itself from the ground up. Thanks for listening again to Singularity Speaks. Catch you in the next episode.
Nice.